Welcome to Wandering and Pondering,
the podcast of two overly opinionated teenage girls who wander through life pondering the world around them. I'm Lola.
I'm Ava.
And I'm Zoe.
And today's episode is called Girl, Get a Grip, where we discuss the teenage identity crisis.
So you may have noticed that we have a new person on our podcast today. We're very excited to introduce our first guest, Zoe, who's my younger sister. We have her on because, for one, she goes to a bigger school than Ava and I. And also because we've noticed that we're just kind of getting a little old.
Yeah. Like, the people we're talking about, the demographic is no longer our age group, because one of the things we'll be discussing is kids wanting to be older and be like young adults, but
now we kind of just are young
adults.
We
are just young adults, so we just look like those people because we are them. So we needed the perspective of the youth.
So to start out, I think we should start by defining what is the teenage identity crisis.
I think identity around teenage girls especially has become so like one thing where everyone is the exact same with their very specific branches of uniqueness that are safe. They're not anything that your peers or the internet would judge you for. They're all things that everyone's already seen and people think are cool, but it's the unique thing is the new shirt that you've bought or the jeans that you've bought. It's not your personal style as a whole. It's not your opinions as a whole. It's these like one thing that you can differentiate yourself from other people without being judged in any way.
It's almost like you need to make yourself digestible, but not exactly the same as anyone else. So your outfits and your opinions, they can't offend anyone. You can't appear a certain way that anyone would look at you and go, oh, but you still want to, not have the exact same clothes as everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And even with things like that, like slightly more unique clothing, when you wear them to school, people around you will be like, oh, and then it makes it so much harder for you to branch out on things that make you feel like yourself.
Yeah, because, it's not like back in the day, teenagers were not exploring who they are and they weren't trying to see where they fit in. But the thing is, they weren't afraid to try things on. I mean, of course they were afraid, but they were doing it anyways. And I'm sure if you have anybody who is an adult or in your life, and you've seen them looking through old pictures or talking about high school stories, they're like, oh my god, the awkward phase, or I can't believe I was doing that, or things, or people like show old pictures of themselves and they have like really chopped makeup, or their outfits were, by an objective standard, regardless of like time and era, their outfits were not good. But now, because of social media and other things in the way our society has moved forward, is people do not want to have an awkward phase. And it's not even hard to not have one. Before, of course, nobody wanted to have an awkward phase, but it was relatively difficult not to have one. But now, I don't think I've seen many young people with awkward phases.
I think an easy way to think about it is people want to be the first person to do something, but they don't want to be the last person. They want to be the first person to buy this new item of clothing, and they want that to start a trend amongst the people in their school. And then you had the uniqueness of being the first person to wear that outfit, but no one judges you or thinks of you as weird because now everyone wants to be wearing that same outfit.
There's almost like a refusal to be yourself as well. Right? People want to appeal to a certain demographic. They want to appear a certain way. But people, like Ava said, there's a refusal for the awkward phase. People refuse to genuinely explore themselves. And I think that's really upsetting. And I think it makes for an identity crisis.
I think, me personally, I had my awkward phase in the era of everyone wanting to be unique and actually unique, like fully different from everyone else.
Or at least the uniqueness was like the gay era. When everyone was super woke. So
woke was in.
Maybe there were still trends, but when being like queer is what's normal, there's a lot more liberty there,
Yeah, I agree.
Because even then, there was this online trend, if you guys are on TikTok, then you've probably seen it, where people were showing pictures of themselves when they were in like the 2020 era, and they were either like making fun of it, like, oh my god, I can't believe I was like that, I can't believe like this, or even if they were like transgender in the time. They're like, oh yeah, you may not know this person, and they may not be here now, but there's always a part of them inside of me. Like where they're super basic now, but they desperately need to show off that they had that 2020 awkward phase, that you were gay at some point, even if it was good or bad.
But of course, they're no longer gay. It's very, very uncool to still be awkward and self-expression-y and cringy like that, right? This is like flashbacks to episode 3, guys. If that's so cringe, where they almost weaponize this cringiness to be bigoted and hateful. So, like, what are some examples of these instances that you've noticed in school, Zoe?
I think, like, 5 years ago, you could consider the basic girl to be wearing Lululemon and have nothing unique about her outfit. But now I think being basic has its subcultures. I think now being basic can be you're wearing a bunch of jewelry with your outfit. There's a lot of dimension to who you are and how you present yourself, but it's all things that everyone else is doing. It's no longer like maybe everyone's not wearing the same shoes, but everyone's wearing shoes that are
from Adidas. Everybody's wearing a different color of Adidas Sambas.
Exactly. People will discover this new Adidas style of shoe.
It looks exactly the same.
It looks the same, but it's like slightly unique. But then in 3 months, everyone's wearing it. But then you get to be like, oh, well, I wore it first.
But also, then your old Adidas Sambas or whatever kind of shoe becomes uncool.
Yeah, then you have to throw them out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, bro, what are you wearing those outdated shoes for? And all that they changes, they took a little bit more of the sole away. So now you're just wearing like ballet slippers.
I think one of the subcultures I noticed, and I wouldn't even consider this basic, but it's a digestible way of self-expression. And it's like edgy, but it's also insecure. It's like a fake, I don't care what people think of me. I'm gonna dye my hair all these fun colors because I don't conform to what social media is telling me I should look like. But it's also, let's take a picture and I'm gonna cover my face because my face doesn't look how the internet thinks my face should look. And you dress maybe you are truly expressing how you feel on the outside, but it's almost fake just because you still are wearing an outfit that you could post on TikTok and have everyone in the comments thinking, oh, like, here's my new thing that I'm gonna wear. Like, it's all digestible. These people wouldn't wear outfits that they think they could be made fun of, even though they consider themselves to not care what people around them or what social media should think about them.
I mean, there's also nothing wrong with wearing something that is socially acceptable, right? But it's just, if you pretend that you're breaking all standards and being super different and you have the, like Zoe said, like, I don't care attitude, I'm doing whatever I want, I'm breaking free of all these standards, when you're actually just wearing something that is super acceptable. Maybe your grandma wouldn't like it, sure, but it's not like anyone's looking at you and being like, oh, that's super ugly. You're actually just conforming to a different culture. Maybe it's not the basic Lululemon Aritzia trends. It's okay if that's your kind of self-expression, but don't pretend that you're doing something incredibly different from anyone else, Yeah,
and I mean, I feel some strong-ish sort of way about it, because I'm going to sound kind of cringe, but it's like the alt posers, where there has been like a gentrification of the alt culture, where it's just like an aesthetic now. People are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be alt and I'm gonna be different, and because I don't care what the world, I don't want to conform. But the only way they want to be alt is having black hair, blue hair, purple hair, or red hair, and they wear that very simple style of the tight t-shirts with those kind of like cool swirly designs that half the time they get from like Shein or these,
which isn't punk. That's not punk.
Or like
Sheinism.
Or like even Hot Topic. Hot Topic's not the same it used to be back in the day. Back in the day, Hot Topic used to be an actual store for punks, but now it's not. And like, I mean, I have a couple of shirts like that, but it's where they divide into a subculture, but they stay in the socially acceptable part, the digestible punks, the ones you've seen on TikTok, and then you probably hear your own boyfriend going, I want me a goth baddie, like.
Yeah, I think relating to that, there's also something to say about the, I guess, sexualization of different unique qualities. Things that in the 80s people would be beaten up for. And now there are these guys on the internet like, oh, I want me,
Goth mommy.
yeah,
Goth mommy.
want me a goth girlfriend, and I want this girl that maybe is truly just expressing herself, but it's also been sexualized by weirdos, and it's hard to differentiate when it's someone not trying to be sexualized, but trying to express themselves in a way they know is sexually desirable, or when that's just who they are. And I also think there's something to say about how you can tell the difference between women doing something because that's how they feel on the inside, they're expressing that, and or knowing that men will like this specific thing. I think it's difficult to say, and I think there's something to say about women not being able to do anything without it being seen as performative for the male gaze. So I think it's like difficult to fully...
A dichotomy, perhaps?
Two sides of the same coin, one might say.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit in episode 3 where you sound like a bad feminist if you call this stuff out, right? It's like, oh, you're only wearing that to appeal to men. It's like, you make it all about men. Maybe I'm wearing this to appeal to myself. Maybe this is my style.
Or maybe I want other girls to think I'm hot. It's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. It's like when people see their favorite TikToker, like Vinny Hackerlore, saying, I don't want Vinny, I want his girl. Coping. You're coping hard, babe.
But yeah, and it's very difficult, but there are girls that do that. There are girls that sexualize that subculture or wear that because they think it makes them look attractive, right? And I also think there's a really big part of appealing to the male gaze included in this teenage identity crisis, at least the teen girl identity crisis.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, again, back to the fake, I don't care what people think of me mentality when being obnoxiously loud and trying to be noticed by not even just men, just like be noticed by the people in your school is like, oh, I'm so loud and obnoxious because I just don't care what people think of me. But it's truly the opposite of that, and I think that's so hard to not notice. I think an easy example of this appealing to the male gaze, I don't care what people think of me, is the fake laugh that we've all seen and heard of, the pick me girl fake laugh. And I think it's kind of upsetting because sometimes I'll be laughing with my friends and I'm not focused on if I'm being judged by the people around me. But I think it's because of this, oh, I don't care what people think of me, ha ha ha, like laughing so loud to be noticed by people around you. And when I'm laughing in public with my friends because something is so funny, I'm now worried like, oh, do I sound like a pick-me girl when I shouldn't have to be worried about...
There's that fear for sure, but also just the fact that it makes friendships and your experiences with people super ungenuine, which I think is the problem with the teen girl, or in general the teenage identity crisis, is that when people are trying to appeal to something, whether that be boys or society in general, it makes genuine interaction and friendships a lot harder to find.
Yeah, and teenagers find parts of their identity from their friends and who they're surrounded by. And I think it's almost detrimental to like every teenager when now people aren't trying to find who they are, because then they're not showing their friends that they're trying and making them more okay to trying, or showing them new things that they might have been interested in. And so now nobody's helping each other and like nothing's happening. And I think that's also bad because nothing's happening around you. But that makes me wonder, like, why did we stop wanting to explore who we are? Like, me and Lola did it, and that was only like a couple years ago. It has not been that long. Like, what happened where this dramatic shift that we think we're seeing? Like, what did that happen?
I think it's possible, I mean, just for our specific age group, that we were coming of age when the 2020 be yourself kind of TikTok fad was a thing. So we were expressing ourselves beforehand, sure, but there was also like a huge craze to be different. And so even though that was a fad and part of it was ingenuine, if that was you, it was a lot easier. And it was just in general easier to be different.
Nowadays, the want to act and to look older for teenage girls is so strong. And the reason that affects finding your identity is because they want to look like they're in their 20s. And once you're in your 20s, you've experienced an amount of life where you don't know fully who you are, but you know more who you are than you would at 15. But 15-year-olds are trying to be like 20-year-olds. And so there's that 5 years of experience that no one's seeking to experience anymore, because it's almost like they want to jump to that next era in life.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's because of social media, because now little girls will look up to older girls. I mean, that's something that they've always done.
Yeah.
Rather, we've always wanted to look older.
This is an issue of the era of just even television. Like, young girls were still watching TV shows or even in music videos. I don't know if y'all have seen Mean Girls, but when they first go to Regina's house, Regina's younger sister is watching a music video of, milkshake wings on the voice of the yard. Like, I don't think it's just a social media thing. I think social media makes it more visible. Like, since more kids are on social media than they were looking at music videos all their time or flipping through their mom's People's magazine.
Well, it's just that, like, on social media apps, you have access to so much more of it.
Yeah.
And so you're more easily influenced to, everyone wants to look older, but now you have access to information on how to actually look older, where you get to avoid the awkward phase, like you said, Ava, because you have all these in-depth tutorials on how to do your makeup like you're 25. And so you don't have to experiment that yourself and find out the kinds of things that make you you. You have this step-by-step guide on how to skip the experimental phase.
I think the awkward phase is considered so embarrassing that now people who didn't experience their awkward phase are scared of embarrassment in everything else, because they didn't experience this ultra embarrassing, like, they look back at it and their friends will see pictures of it and be like, oh my gosh, what were we doing? So now the things that they like about themselves, they're like, well, could this be embarrassing? Because they never experienced that full embarrassing phase, that now they see everything as embarrassing.
And when we were in our embarrassing phase, we all kind of had phones, I think, at that point, but we weren't all posting on social media the same way that people are now, or at least now everything is so recorded that people have, honestly, a rational fear of it, because they're scared that they'll get made fun of in a different type of way, because there'll be so much proof of their embarrassment that and they have so much access to people mocking, like, the past embarrassing phases, like Zoe said, that they just skip it completely.
I feel that real hard, because I wouldn't even call it saying an awkward phase. It was like we were saying in our first or second episode. It was like, I did things when I was a kid that I probably don't do now. Actually, I think about it. I think about doing cosplay again all the time. So much money, and there's not actually any use for it. So that's the only reason I don't do it. But unfortunately, all of that stuff is online. Well, not anymore. I've removed it. But I've had people say that they have, like, a video bank of all of it on their phones. And if I mess with them, they're just like, I'm going to show the videos. I'm going to show the videos. And I'm like, damn, leave me alone. But you know what? Now I don't even care. You show the videos. I've lost them. So if you could send it to me, that'd be great. But people are terrified of that happening, because the thing is, it will happen. But the problem is people like to use that to weaponize. Like, people have always made fun of you for being embarrassing and whatnot. But now with social media, with, like, phones, you have a bank to do it. Like, back in the day, there's no pictures of my mom doing anything weird. Like, people can say it word of mouth, but they can't show, here, look what my mom was doing back in the day when she was being weird. Every one of my weird moments is on everybody's phone now.
But also now everything's embarrassing too, because there has been a narrowing down of what's considered acceptable, that everything outside of that is bullied or mocked. And so kids are even scareder to branch just, like, slightly outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I also think fear of embarrassment isn't just, oh, well, what are people thinking anymore? It's, oh, well, what are people gonna make TikToks about? What are people gonna... Yeah, everything is so public. It's, what are people gonna find in 2 years and make fun of in 2 years because I posted it on the internet? So it's become almost this fear of existing, this fear of being perceived has become so strong and not an irrational fear. It's because it happens.
Yeah, it's like those. I don't know if I'm sure if you're online, you've seen those clips where it's like, oh, top cringiest classroom moments, and it's like, yes, these people are being kind of weird, but people are like filming them discreetly in class while they're doing something, and they post it online saying, bro, look at this kid, or like this one I can think of is like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat Coco, and it's like, wow, who's Coco? I know about Coco at this school. And like I've seen that one everywhere. Like even if you don't post it, if people think you're weird, they are just going to film you and post it online. Like I've seen so many of them. Of course, I see the same clips, but every day I see like a new one. Like people are just gonna record you now.
So I guess at the end of the day, it's the same message. Stop making fun of people, guys. Just let them be.
And if you are gonna make fun of someone, do it in the privacy of your own house where they can't hear you.
Or make fun of people's hatred for other people.
That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Make fun of those who deserve it. Because they were making fun of other people. Don't make fun of other people because you think they're weird and they deserve it. If people are being mean to other people, then it's kind of fair game.
Make fun of bigots and bullies.
Yes.
And not people trying to express themselves.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think this wraps up our guest segment, Zoe, unless you have anything else to say.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being on Wandering and Pondering. I hope this was an enjoyable experience for you.
It was. Thank you for having me.
Might as well now whoosh over to the me and Lola debrief section.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, I think the biggest thing we need to address first is the parents. Like, kids aren't just doing these things. They can't. They can't get their own phone. They can't buy their own clothes. Like, the parents see everything. I mean, unless you're like that girl where you wear your one outfit and you change in school. But generally, the kids don't do things on their own. And like we said, how this stuff has always existed. Like, kids have always wanted to look up to older people, and they always have. But parents shut that down before. Like, my mom wouldn't let me wear red nail polish when I was a kid because that was too adult. And I know that for some girls, their parents wouldn't let them wear big hoop earrings because that was also too adult. But why are parents just letting this happen? Like, this wouldn't have started as being an issue if parents were just saying no like they used to.
I mean, I think part of it is that with like the actual younger generation, millennials are becoming parents now. And millennials had access to social media, maybe not the same way we do, but like our parents didn't grow up with social media. They grew up in the awkward phase as being told like this is too adult. They didn't grow up with these influences, whereas millennials did. So they're like, oh no, this is normal. I wanted this when I was a kid. And I'm like, yeah, but your parents didn't let you, and that was a good thing. But perhaps they're not realizing that. I also think there's just, when something becomes so mainstream through social media, parents can look at other parents being like, oh, well, they're letting their kids do this. And then it becomes like a group mentality thing. Oh, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I'll let my kids do it. All the other kids are doing it. And then suddenly kids aren't kids anymore,
Yeah, I almost feel like it starts off with, I think the downfall was Zara kids. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen online, but you see those pictures or those videos of like, oh, what I dressed my kid in. And the kid is wearing like an outfit you would see on Pinterest on a 20-year-old. Like, why are you dressing your kid this way? Because you're creating them like this. When I was a kid, I was dripped out in head to toe unicorn, the ugliest color combos of like pink and green and orange and this. Like, I had chopped outfits of it as a kid. But who cares? My parents didn't care. They didn't want to win me in the most beautiful child contest.
We had Justice. We were talking about Justice. Y'all remember Justice?
Love Justice. Like, Justice was glittery, had neon colors. Like, now
the things that kids should like, because kids don't have good sense of style.
Exactly. So your parents are dressing them, but like their parents are like, I'm gonna make my kid look like a mini me, and like, you're 40. Calm down.
I think, to bring this back to our episode tradition of me bringing up consumerism, I do think this is just also a consumerist thing where like parents are now being fed, oh, Zara kids, look how cute it is. You and your kid can match. Like there's no need for that because you're wearing adult clothes. Your little, I mean, even your toddler shouldn't be wearing this kind of stuff. But people want Instagrammable photos for their friends and family. They want, oh, look at these cute little things that I'm putting on my daughter. But they're not cute in kid ways. They're cute in like, this is what an adult would wear. And so you're actually instilling this upon your child before they can even think to want these things, before you even give them a phone to tell you, oh, I want this. I want to go to Sephora.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's kind of a joke, and I think most kids aren't doing it, but it's like those Sephora kids that you see on TikTok where they're like, get ready for me for the first day of third grade. And they're wearing their AHA, BHA toner. I'm like, you're not gonna have a face. But even though like the consequences fall on the kids, it's not the kids' fault.
No.
Like I'm honestly, I mean, I'm kind of against dress codes in school. I think dress codes are kind of weird, and they give opportunities for creepy teachers to measure your skirt. But
or just to actually prevent self-expression, right? It's like, oh, you
or
can't
just
wear
be sexist, like how women can't wear tank tops but men can. Like it's just weird. But like I'm 17. I'm old now, and I rarely do it because I don't super love clothing that my parents generally would not like. But sometimes I come out in an outfit and they're like, Ava, you look like, they don't say anything, but they're like, what is that? Or when I was a kid, when I was even just a couple years younger, they're like, Ava, you cannot go out like that. Or like, you need to button up one more button, or pull up your shirt, or pull down your shirt, or something like that.
Because it can be a safety thing too, right?
Yeah.
Your kids aren't, I mean, I don't know. I think people should be able to wear what they want. It's sad that these things are sexualized, but fact remains they are sexualized. Your kid should not be in a crop top.
And your kids should not be wearing like lingerie things, or having a full beat face for elementary school with high heeled boots and like black stocking and fishnets. Like it's hard to discuss what is appropriate. Like what is appropriate for children. But generally, if what they're putting together makes them look like an adult, it's not good. And I'm not talking about, sometimes you see girls that are dressed in cardigans and jeans. Sure, adults wear cardigans and jeans, but that's not what we're talking about. But it's when you try to look mature. That's what it is. And it's because you want to be appealing. But like, who are you appealing to? Johnny on the playground? Like, calm down.
So yeah, I guess this identity crisis can, or in some cases, be dated back to the way that your parents raised you. Or maybe it's about to get a whole lot worse when these little kids become teenagers. Because you're being influenced before you even have the mind to be influenced. Like your parents are influencing you. I don't know. I've heard people say like, oh, well, what's the problem with kids looking older nowadays? Like maybe it's just easier for them. We wanted to look older, that kind of stuff. But it's like, well, it actually prevents you from finding out who you are when from a very young age you're told to look a certain way.
Yeah, and also it makes you it's like when you look older, you're gonna look at people who you think look like you for how you should be living your life. And when you're like 12 and you think you should be looking like someone who is 16, you're gonna be looking at what they're doing at 16, be like, oh my god, this is what I should be doing. Because you want to relate to people that look like you. It's like pattern recognition, but you don't even know what you look like. Like I remember when I was 12, I used to wear this cropped hoodie with, of course, a t-shirt underneath. And I used to have jeans and a belt.
I remember that hoodie. I have TikToks of you in that hoodie.
See, I'll say everybody has all of my in a bank. Everybody just has folders of their phone. Eva's cringiest moment. That's why I don't care, because you know what? If I care, I am just gonna like lose it, because people do have embarrassing things of me. But no, like,
but it's not.
I remember looking that fit. I remember that fit, and I was like, oh my god, I look so cool. I look like those Fashion Nova baddies. And I look back, and I'm like, because I also have videos of it. It's like I look back, and I'm like, there's no way I thought that. There's no way I thought that. I look like an 11-year-old. Like,
but like, who cares, right? Like, the whole point is that you had space to express yourself, which is something that all kids need, because then you get, like Zoe described, who spend their whole lives being attention seekers, and that creates a deep sense of unrest in you as well, right? Like those people aren't happy, clearly. Why would you want that? So,
Or you're forever insecure because you don't know what to be secure in.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like people, when you don't find who you are, you just take longer to find it. And the longer you take, the harder your life is. I mean, that's not saying like you have to find yourself right away. But the difference between starting when you're a teenager and then continuing on for a long time, or just never starting and creating this like completely fake shell that has no substance, then one day that shell breaks and you have a negative amount of self-identity and you're like 25, it's a lot harder to come back from that.
Mm-hmm. So don't be scared of being yourself. It'll make you a lot happier in the long end. Take time to find out who you are. Because it's true, no teenager knows who we are. We were talking about this earlier. No teenager knows who they are.
You're not expected to.
You're not expected to, because like just on a biological level, you're not. You don't. But if you have such an extreme fear of being different, then
you're gonna worry about being embarrassed, like we said, and you will be embarrassed. People will make fun of you. You just have to know and try to remind yourself that it is a phase. Like, it goes away. There are going to be people who make fun of you in life.
But people lock in eventually too, and they realize it's not deep, and you should not care about what other people are doing. It eventually does go away.
Yeah, and like people start to live their own lives. When you're a teenager, you're like living your life is kind of living whatever's going around you.
Mm-hmm.
But people start to live their own lives, and if you're always so concerned about what people are thinking about your life, then you're just gonna be miserable. Like, you don't want to live your life for other people. You want to live it for yourself.
So I think that wraps up our episode.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about our guest structure, and if you want to see more guests. Even if you don't, we will have more guests. And if you have nice things to say, please say them.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. This has been Wandering and Pondering. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.